You know, everything is bigger and better in the great state of Texas, and that's what the Big 12 has done for us the past couple of days. The Big 12 football media days. Here's what I love about what the Big 12 has done, and Brett Yormark, their commissioner, kind enough to join us now. Commissioner, I love that you guys are first out of the gate. There's something to be said about that college football Jones we all have right now, and you guys provided us the opportunity to talk ball in the first week of July, and that's incredible.
We love it, and you know, I inherited it. But I like going first because I think, candidly, I can go on the offense, and everyone after me plays defense.
And you did. You went on the offense yesterday with a couple of things I want to talk about.
You know, my opening comments were well prepared and on point from a Big 12 perspective, and we love where we're going. We love the trajectory of this conference, and we're excited about the season.
So I want to ask you a bit of a tough question because we all agree that this conference, top to bottom, is loaded. And we sat here yesterday and said maybe 9 teams could win the thing. Yeah. So with respect to that, there are 2 teams good enough to make the college football playoff from this league. But when it's so competitively balanced, is there a concern that there could be 4 10-2 teams, 3 9-3 teams, and a 10-2 team, because it is so competitively balanced from the top to the middle?
I'm not overly concerned about that right now, and I talk to the coaches about it. I think over time we're going to have schools that emerge to the top. But right now, I think the depth of this conference, the competitive spirit from top to bottom, is critically important for us as we continue to build our product. But over time, we're going to have those schools that are part of the national conversation year in and year out. And I expect that to happen this year. I really do.
What did Arizona State do for this league last year with how they came from the bottom to the top and an all-time great in the playoff game?
It was unbelievable. You know, and I saw it coming week in and week out. They got better, and I would call the coach, and he said, "Brett, we're not there yet, but we're getting better." We disadvantaged them when we did the media poll to start the season, candidly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they were picked 16th, as you all know. And in this world of the portal, no one knows really what they have until you get on the field. So we disadvantaged them. And as we stated yesterday or earlier last week, we're no longer doing the media poll starting the season. But I'm excited about Arizona State. You know, they got Sam Leavitt back, probably one of the premier quarterbacks in the country, and I expect big things from them.
Well, I think you're right, and I think people started to wake up around November 1st, but by that point, they'd already lost 8 weeks of quality equity where they could have been, hey, Arizona State doing things special there in September as well. You were really adamant yesterday about the 5+11 model. I love that. I want that. That's how we've consumed football forever. I'm far more concerned about a full audit of the selection process. And I want to know, what do you prioritize? What do you value when talking to the future committee members? What do you want them to prioritize when it comes to selecting those 16 teams?
Strength of schedule matters to me.
Yeah.
I was pretty outspoken about it last year, and I will be moving forward. But as I said yesterday in my opening comments, I have a lot of faith in the selection committee, and I always have. But they do need to go through a full audit. They need to figure out how do they modernize and contemporize what they do. Are they using the right data? Do they have the right metrics? Are certain metrics weighted more so than others? And I know they're going through that full audit this year. Mack Rhodes, obviously AD at Baylor, is the new chair. And he is committed to doing the right thing. He is committed to turning it upside down and making it better. And I have a lot of faith in Mack and his colleagues that they're going to get it right.
Commissioner, so many things to be excited about with the Big 12 this year. We just talked about the competitive balance when you look at the conference top to bottom with all 16 teams. But I think another thing, as a former quarterback and analyst who's in the booth and just really a fan of the game, you can really kind of call this the conference of the quarterback. Talk to me a little bit and how much it means to you as the commissioner to look across the landscape of the Big 12 and you see all of these talented quarterbacks that are going to compete not only for all conference honors, All-American, and maybe even the Heisman Trophy.
Well, we have 9 returning quarterbacks. I mentioned that yesterday, all through for over 240 yards last year. When you think about the Power 4, they have 11 combined outside the Big 12.
Yeah.
So you're right. This is the conference of quarterbacks. We're excited about it. And it creates a lot of excitement around our games. They're high-scoring games, and we have a lot of talent at that position, and I think we lead college football when you think about quarterbacks.
One of the things that I love that you always say, and I think the viewers would be interested to kind of branch out a little bit on it, you're very honest about saying the Big 12 is open for business. You said that from day one. You said it again yesterday. So for those watching, what does that mean when you say the Big 12
I should
is
have
open for
trademarked
business?
it.
You should have.
And by the way,
mean, you really should have.
I was a rookie commissioner. I got up there, and when I said open for business, I just meant we're going to explore every and all possibilities to reinvent and reimagine this conference. And that's what I meant. Because candidly, I came from the business side.
Right.
Of sport.
Which is what it needed.
And that's what we needed to inject and infuse into this conference. It was somewhat taken out of context at the moment because we were going through realignment, or at least it had started at that point in time. But when I mean open for business, I mean we are going to explore every and all possibility to continue to grow our brand, to grow our profile, to grow our commercial business, to drive more value for our member institutions, and all that comes underneath open for business.
Yeah, and a first year without realignment. I mean, when you look around the landscape, I mean, there was realignment every other hour. But the stability, and I would say this, that last bit of realignment for this conference, when you brought in the Arizonas, you brought in Colorado, Utah, you brought in that stable of schools, to me, that's what solidified this league now that was in trouble 3-4 years ago, as you know, to now being a 16-team power conference.
I agree. You know, if you think about it, we've introduced to our conference 8 new schools over the last 2 years. It's a lot of work that goes behind that. But I think the 4 corners, to your point, really solidified us. They made us into a national conference, big brands, big markets, big profiles, and that's only created a lot of value for this conference. And I mentioned that yesterday. I mean, all 16 schools contributed to the Big 12 last year, but the 4 corners did a remarkable job in year 1.
Well, speaking of a national conference, you also want this to be a global conference, and you're doing some very special things with that. Why is that so important to you?
Well, I think we can win globally. You know, you look at our student athletes, 11% of them come from outside the U.S. So there's a recruiting hotbed out there across the world.
Yeah.
We're playing in Ireland, you know, in August. We'll return there next year when TCU hosts North Carolina. Women's basketball at Baylor will kick off their season in Paris this year. Oh. And we're in final negotiations to play baseball in Mexico City next spring. So I feel it's a market that we can own as a conference, and one that's truly important.
It's amazing to me how willing you are and how nimble you are. And in this rebound, I got to give credit to not just you, but to Bob Bowlesby as well. I mean, the pivot, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm a Big 12 guy. I grew up going to Red River rivalry and loving it. So I grew up in this league, but the league that I grew up is very different, but the rebranding has been absolutely phenomenal. So a tip of the cap to how you guys have handled all this. But I am curious, as you move forward in an ever-changing landscape, what do we need to solve? What's our biggest hurdle right now as college football fans from a commissioner's perspective?
Well, there's a lot going on. I mentioned that yesterday. We're working at a new governance model. Obviously, we have the settlement, which was recently approved, and now we have to enforce those rules. And then we obviously have the CFP, which is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
But I think we've got to get enforcement right.
Yeah.
We've got to put guardrails around this thing. So, in fact, it's an even playing field across the board. And that is, in theory, what we are trying to create, an even playing field. And we have to change behavior within college athletics. Mm-hmm. Certainly we have to do that. And Brian Seeley, the CEO of the College Sports Commission, has a big job. And I'm a big fan of his. He's the right guy at the right time for this role. And, listen, if you break the rules, it's going to be punitive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we've got to come hard after that. And that's, to me, the biggest priority right now.
For this league nationally and just within its steps of growth, what would you like to see next?
Listen, I'm happy but never satisfied.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to see this conference evolve. And I think we have an incredible future in front of us. And that's why, getting back to the CFP format, why should I cap how many participants we can have in the CFP? Why would I do that?
Why would you let someone get 50% more than 100%,
you? 100%, and for 6 years. When I know that our schools are investing at the highest levels, our product is getting better. It might not be ideal for us today, but I'm playing the long game here.
I would tell you, my phone, I've gotten a couple of texts from some people that would like entry into the conference. We can talk about that at some other time. There's some other schools around there that are like, hey, the Big 12 looks fun. I kind of want in on that. I was like, well, I'm not the guy to get that done. But it's been great. I tell you what, the setup here in Texas, phenomenal.
Yeah.
The great state, everything's big. Convenient, coaches love it, we love it, so congratulations on this event. Now, having said that, maybe Vegas probably would have been more, it would have been better for him in his blackjack situation.
I like coming home to Dallas, too.
We did the Vegas thing last year, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
but there's something about being in Texas.
right.
Yeah, right.
That matters to us. And, I polled our 8 coaches yesterday, and across the board, they said, Brett, you got to keep bringing it
Home
to
run.
Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll say the same today.
Every single one of them said, like,
He can do a remote from Vegas by himself. We'll come to Dallas. That sounds good.
all of them said, the coach said, like, where this is located, it was easy for everyone to just come down here, have a great meal, have fun. Brett Yormark, Commissioner Big 12, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited about the league this year. We're excited about another season of college football. So much more. We are just getting kicked off. Day 2, Big 12 Media Days here in Frisco, Texas. The coaches are going to start coming through soon. We'll have that when we return.